falling.
Fraud, homophobia, sexual assault, white supremacy.
In terms of reaching out and being inclusive, he's done that too. And a will to risk to make things better and opportunities to embrace the underserved communities.
White privilege.
Load up, rubber bullets.
Snowflake, snowflake, little snowflake.
Here in New York, as many as 10,000 people surged through the streets and surrounded the barricaded-off Trump Tower where Donald Trump lives.
Snowflake, snowflake, little snowflake.
We reject the president-elect! Load up, rubber bullets.
Snowflake, snowflake, little snowflake.
I think it speaks to the disenfranchisement of the people that someone like him could be seen as offering anything to the masses.
Load up, rubber bullets.
Little snowflake falling from the sky.
What about gay people? Trump has vowed to protect the LGBT community from a fanatical ideology that represents its biggest threat, radical Islam.
As your president, I will do everything in my power to protect our LGBTQ citizens from the violence and oppression of a hateful foreign ideology.
Racist, sexist, anti-gay. Load up, rubber bullets.
Snowflake, snowflake, little snowflake, falling, 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 falling.
He is a racist.
Under Obama, more black people are living below the poverty line. The number of African Americans on food stamps has increased 58% under Obama.
On every leading economic issue, on the major economic issues, black Americans have lost ground in every one of those leading categories. So for the last 10 years, it's not been good for black folks.
Is this how the left helps black communities? By making them poorer and more dependent on government. Race relations are at their worst in decades. 8 years of Obama has been devastating for the black community.
He is a sexist. He is a neo-Nazi.
Well, we don't understand why you called in the National Guard.
Falling on my nose.
Not my president. He is a lying ass.
Snowflake, snowflake, little snowflake,
Fake ass.
little snowflake falling from the sky.
Dumb ass son of a bitch.
Load up, rubber bullets.
Snowflake, snowflake, little snowflake, falling, 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 falling.
That's not my president! That's not my president! Load up, rubber bullets.
Falling in my hand.
Thank you for taking America back 60 years of progress.
Falling on my head.
You just voted in a Nazi fascist.
Falling on my nose. Falling in my hand. Snowflake, snowflake, little snowflake.
What you gonna do about it? What you gonna do?
The following is a Nightside Radio Studios production.
From the wind-powered Nightside Radio Studios,
tear down this wall.
This is the J.J. McCartney Show.
It's this man. It's the compassion. It's the dignity. It's the wisdom. It's the horse sense of the guy.
Did you know that 65% of the people murdered in the last 10 years were killed by handguns?
Would it make you feel any better, little girl, if they was pushed out of windows?
The American people have seen the truth, and they can see through your lies. There's coming a day when publications such as yours turn into nothing more than flea market advertising. They'll be handing it out for free in grocery store parking lots under everybody's windshield wiper. Yeah, that's the future for the Washington Post and the New York Times and every other liberal publication in this country. We are not going to tolerate your bull anymore. None of it. The American people are fed up. I thought we made that clear on November 8th, but apparently you people in the media just don't get it. A new chapter in American history begins now.
It is my high honor and distinct privilege to introduce to you the President-elect of the United States of America.
Donald Trump is the person to make America great again.
We are a team.
They said it couldn't be done.
Together, we will lead our party back to the White House.
He said it must be done.
Beginning on January 20th, we cannot afford to be so politically correct anymore. The most important difference between our plan and that of our opponent is that our plan will put America first.
Here's J.J. McCartney.
All right, thank you, Marcus, and welcome one and all. Welcome back to the J.J. McCartney Show. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. It means IQ Al-Rassouli is in the house. We will visit with IQ today, find out what's on his mind, and we got several stories to share with you today that have a common thread, and it is an alarming thread. We'll tell you all about that, plus your phone calls. As a matter of fact, we got one standing by. Stand by, IQ Al-Rassouli up next. All right, welcome everybody. So good to have you with us. IQ, welcome back. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Good to be with you again.
Well, we are so glad that everybody out there decided to join us today because there's so much news to share today, IQ. It is really alarming how much is going on and how evil these people are. They are literally, a war has been declared on faith in America. And it is truly something. By the way, IQ, you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Good. We're talking about Christian faith in America, and I have got some stories to share a little later on. But right now, let's get right to the phones, IQ. Don't want to keep them waiting. From Edmonton, Alberta, I do believe. Welcome back to the J.J. McCartney Show with IQ Al-Rassouli. Hello, who's this?
Sammy.
Sammy, welcome back. What's going on?
Good. I was just having another question for IQ. Do you think we're going to go to civil war?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Do you think we're going to go to civil war?
Well, in America, no. No. I'll tell you why. The people who have arms are all right-wing Republicans. The ones without arms all of them are Democrats. So there will be no civil war. Otherwise, we'll wipe them out.
No, I mean in Europe, not America.
Oh, in Europe, yes, yes. And I honestly, truly hope the sooner the better. Yes. It's only a matter of time.
So it'll be the end of the century, right? That's what they said.
End of the century? No. You're kidding?
The end of the century?
No. It's a matter of a year or two. Can't be end of the century.
A year? Wait, a year or two? They're going to break out in civil war? They're still minority. That can't happen.
No. This minority, the Muslim minority, is not a minority anymore. There are over 30 million Muslims in Europe. In some of the European countries, they constitute 12% of the population.
And I want to point something out too. Just a point of fact. If this civil war breaks out in Europe, the war is not going to be versus Islam. The war is going to be versus the government, the people versus the government that has empowered and enabled Islam to gain such a foothold.
True, but by overthrowing the government, they will turn their attention to the Muslims.
Yes.
So you think they're going to actually overthrow the what government in Europe right now is up for grabs?
At the moment, none of them. But you keep saying, you see, you're thinking of a military takeover. It isn't. What will happen will be an upheaval by the public. In Germany, they have now what they call the right-wing party. They have 90 plus members of parliament. In Austria, the government is right-wing. In Hungary, in Poland, in the Czech Republic, in Slovenia, they're all right-wing. What we call right-wing is because the media calls them right-wing. They're not right-wing. They are like Donald Trump. They're patriots. And they don't want Muslims to overtake Christianity in Europe. It's that simple. It's not complicated.
And when you talk about governments, you're asking which governments. Well, keep in mind the European Union is not nearly as tight-knit a government as the government of, say, the United States is, where we have, 50 states that, elect representatives to the government and all of this. There's not nearly as much accountability to the people of Europe on the part of the European Union as there is in the United States. Now, what we're talking about also is the governments of each member nation. I mean, you look right now, Angela Merkel is facing a very tough battle in Germany because of her stand on bringing more Muslims in, and no matter what happens, she insists that more Muslims must be brought in. And the people of Germany and the people of Europe, all of these European member states, are getting fed up with the terrorism and with the welcome wagon that has been rolled out for radical extremists that just happen to be Muslim, that have been placed there voluntarily by their elected leader, Angela Merkel.
Sam, I don't know if you realize. Sorry, Sam, 1 second. 90% of the so-called refugees in Europe, 90% haven't got a single job. 90%. They are on welfare. They were given shelter. They are spending on each one of them hundreds of thousands of euros a year. That's billions of euros a year. No government on earth, no people on earth will allow their government to continue doing this, depriving them and their children while they're spending money on somebody who's a foreigner.
Exactly. You're talking about a workers' revolt as much as anything. The tax-paying citizens saying, we're not going to bankroll this anymore. And if you don't listen to us, then, the entire economic engine comes to a stop. And what government can maintain status quo when that happens? None. The people must assert themselves in any nation that wants to bring a halt to the globalist agenda of basically moving, in mass, millions of Muslims into Western nations. And the reason they're doing it isn't because of humanitarian concerns. The reason they're doing it is to try and undermine and overthrow the democratic representative republics of the world, the Western governments of the world, and replace them instead with what? Well, with a one world body. And we know that everybody inside the European Union, I'm talking about the government of the EU, is pushing for globalism. And this is going to be the battle of the next 10 or 20 years, is going to be globalism versus the working people. Because if the...
so do you...
Go ahead, Sammy.
I'm sorry. Do you think that, maybe if we still but we can't fight them, though, because Ali Sina wrote in his book, if they're not at your feet, they're going to be at your throat. and fighting's like a holy deed. We can't really fight them. They've been fighting for centuries. It's impossible.
That's not true. Sammy, that is not true. That is absolutely not true.
Okay.
We have not been fighting them for centuries. We haven't even been fighting them for decades. The fact of the matter is they've been fighting amongst themselves for centuries. The Iran-Iraq war went on for so long that people just, forgot about it. But the warring that has been going on in the Muslim world has now spilled into the Western world. And what they're trying to do, what the globalists at the United Nations and the European Union and elsewhere are trying to do, is they're trying to cripple the economies of these Western nations by flooding them with refugees that have no marketable skills and will become welfare recipients, freeloaders, and offer nothing in return to the communities they reside in. As a matter of fact, they are a detriment, even if you don't consider the financial impact. They're a detriment to any place they go, because the only things they know how to do are rape women and make trouble. That's the only thing they know how to do. And these people are absolutely they offer no benefit whatsoever to the host country. And why would a people voluntarily allow themselves to be invaded by such a people? Why?
Yeah. But it's true what you said. But I said I thought when the Turkey had the caliphate, the people that were Turkey wasn't always called Turkey. Didn't they fight them? Like, Europe was under the caliphate for such a long time? Like southern Russia, Hungary was under them for like 100 and something years. France was under them.
You're talking about the caliphate and IQ. You would know more about this than I would, but I believe we're talking about the Ottoman Empire, are we not?
Absolutely. They were defeated in 1648, if I remember, at the gates of Vienna. Had they not been defeated then, Europeans would be speaking Turkish, and their religion would have been Islam. Well, Sam, when you say we can't fight them, that's unbelievable. How you could say that? They're only 10%.
I don't know.
They're only 10%.
I know, they're only 10%. But look how much ruckus they make. Look at on 9/11, only took 9 people to hit the Twin Towers. Who's going to fight that?
Twin Towers, you could say that was a Pearl Harbor. It was unexpected. The people in Europe can turn from being civilized to being monsters in no time. Germany.
But we don't want that.
But listen to this. Germany, a civilized nation, was turned into a monster nation in 6 years, 1933 to 1939. When parents, when I'm the father and mother and brother and sister of my family are threatened by a foreign group, you mean I will not fight? Of course I'll fight. I will fight to the death. I'll kill them. Just as much they want to kill us.
But don't you think it's... Don't you think it's best that we can, don't you think it's best that we should get them free, they need to be free so we don't have to fight back?
No.
We don't want bloodshed on the street.
What Islam are you talking about, Sammy? What is...
You
show me an example of any truly Islamic people that have ever embraced peace in the history of Islam.
I just think that I don't believe in bloodshed, okay? I don't believe we should go to war because, I mean, we're still fighting in Iraq.
If you're saying that, then basically what you're saying is we should just let them in and let them run the whole thing because you're afraid to fight.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying let them in and let them run the whole. I'm saying it's best that they have to go back to their nation and lead their nation.
Why is it that bloodshed is something that you won't support? Why is it?
I know, because the reason why I just think that, I mean, to me, it's like fighting is in their DNA.
Have you studied?
Look,
First of all, are you a Christian?
Yeah.
Have you studied the Bible? I mean,
No, I
really
studied it.
Well,
I know it says in the Bible there is war.
Well, you
there
know what?
is war in the Bible. I just think.
Do you know what Jesus told his disciples and the people that were listening at the time? Jesus told them that if they didn't own a sword, that they should sell their coats and buy swords. What is truly, I mean, and this goes throughout the history of humanity, bloodshed sometimes is the difference between survival as a nation, survival as a people, survival as, as whatever you want to define your community or your society. Bloodshed is a reality of living in this world. If you want to survive, especially in wartime, then you cannot say, "Oh, I'm not for bloodshed." The fact is, if people come and murder your people, then what would be the remedy? What is your remedy if people come and murder Americans or Canadians?
There's no compassion in war. There's no compassion in war. What I'm trying to say, it's best to ship them back to their nations than create more damage. They already creating damage here. That's it. But it's best to just round them all up and ship them back to their countries.
Sam.
And we leave their nations because they don't want us there.
You're right. They should be given a choice to leave the country. Give you an example today as we speak. Israel was invaded by 70,000 Africans. Not a single one of them was a Christian or a Jew. 70,000, mostly Muslim. Israel now is giving them $3,000 to leave. $3,000, by the way, is a huge amount when they go back to their country. And if they don't leave, they will force them out. We can do the same thing in Europe. Leave. Go to whichever country you want on earth that will accept you. But after 1 year, if you're still here, you have a problem. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I just pity that they don't even realize that they're living the greatest lie ever told. They say in the Bible it's the greatest story ever told. They're living the greatest lie.
But honestly,
and they can't see it. It's right in front of their face.
Yeah, okay. But Sam, you're looking at it from a different point of view. You should look at it from their point of view. From their point of view, they're not doing anything wrong. From their point of view, they are following their God, Allah dictates. And what are the dictates? You either submit all humanity to Sharia or exterminate them. That's it. There is no other choice. They have no choice. And we have no choice. None. This is a
so it's best to wipe them out.
Well, what you said, I agree with you. We give them a choice. Go back to your country or to any country will accept you. 1 year.
Yeah.
And you are allowed to take your money with you. I don't want your money. Take it with you. But you get out. I agree with you 100%.
But people say that, but IQ, people say that we can't because of the oil and the gas. They won't let that happen.
No. With Trump in power, this oil business, you can throw it in the garbage bin. America is going, if not already, completely oil independent. America is today oil independent. Double check me. They don't need oil.
Okay,
and when they put in more oil, they can supply oil to the whole of Europe and Asia. For as long as America is independent with oil, nobody can tell the United States of America what to do. And this is exactly what Donald Trump has done.
And just an aside here, IQ, because there's a misperception about oil and America. America today can be and will be the number one producer of oil, the number one exporter of oil in the world. The fact is, a few years ago, we were the number one exporter of oil in the world. We had contracts to sell our oil to nations that really don't like us very much. And the idea here is that if America becomes energy independent, then we truly have the Arabs and the Muslim world over a barrel economically.
And militarily, and psychologically, and politically. You got them all around. And this is why when Donald Trump said he is going to move the embassy to Jerusalem, there was nothing in the Arab and Muslim world. So there were 30,000 people demonstrating in Indonesia and in Pakistan. Out of 1.5 billion.
They make it seem like they make it seem like 1 billion people was marching on CNN. They make it seem like so many people all across the Islamic world were marching, like every person.
Muslims, believe it or not. No. Muslims are not as cohesive as everybody thinks they are. As JJ just pointed out. They are killing each other with greater passion than they have been killing Jews and Christians. More Muslims have died in the last 20 years at the hands of Muslims than by anybody else in the world. Islam is corrupt. Islam has always been corrupt. Islam is retrograde. They have always been retrograde. It doesn't matter how much they gloat and say that they brought civilization to humanity. Bull crap. It couldn't have been done by the Arabs. The Arabs were illiterate. Illiterate people and nomadic people are not civilized people. I'm not saying they're not a human being. I said they're not civilized. They can't contribute anything. And they haven't contributed anything. Name 10 Muslims, for God's sake. Name 10 Muslims from among 2,000 million in the last 600 years who have contributed anything to the advancement and betterment of humanity in any field. 10 Muslims out of 2,000 million. You can't. There is not a single, I said that before to you also. Out of 57 Muslim majority states, they haven't got a single university which is accredited by any other university on earth. Not one. That's why they send their people to the West. And when they get learned in the West, they go back to their countries and they can't function anymore. They can't because they're not allowed to function. Let me give you an example. Yesterday, the foremost authority on Islam, Sunni Islam, Muhammad al-Tayyib, from Al-Azhar University, Azhar University, that is a theological one, he said Jerusalem is 100% Arab. Now, if this is not a contortion of history and reality, I don't know what is. Considering the fact that the word Jerusalem is never mentioned in the Quran, is never mentioned in the Hadith, how could this leader say it is 100% Arab? Please tell me. Can you explain that to me?
It's impossible to explain because it just never happened. By the way, Sammy, thank you for the phone call. We much appreciate your questions, and I hope we did a good job of answering most of them. But we do need to move on. We got a lot of other things to get to today. So thank you, Sammy. God bless you, and we will talk to you again soon. I'm sure. Thank you. Okay, IQ. We do need to take a very quick time out, and then I want to jump into the news items and give people an idea of what's happening, not just in America but all around the world today. And how the enemy of freedom and the enemy of godliness, as I understand it, as a Christian, and I know there are many Jewish believers out there as well. There is real persecution happening in the world, and it's happening right here at home in America as well. More to come with IQ Al-Rassooli right after we take this quick time out. Stay with us.
The J.J. McCartney Show.
Hey, everybody. J.J. McCartney back here for our good friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com. You know, folks, there's one thing that there never seems to be a shortage of in this world, and that is uncertainty, unrest. You know, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Natural disasters, economic downturns, whatever it is, you can be prepared by going to MountainViewOffGridLiving.com. They have got everything you need, from Pro-Pure gravity-fed water filtration systems to Kimberly stoves to these composting toilets. Ladies and gentlemen, at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com, you can prepare for anything. Food storage, no problem. Advice, no problem. Call our good friend Sue at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com. Find out what's there for you. Great prices, great advice, and guess what, folks? You'll find it all at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com.
Due to the recent revelations, the NSA has been using a secret court order to spy on every single Verizon and AT&T customer. Americans have become outraged and concerned about their rights to privacy. The only way to fight back against our country's excessive wiretapping and data mining is to make it irrelevant. That's why we're launching Operation Everyone Talk Like a Terrorist all the time. If we all openly discuss terrorist plots in each of our phone conversations, then eavesdropping on those phone conversations becomes pointless. It's simple. We just need to work it into our daily vernacular. Instead of saying, I love you, you could describe a terror attack. The larger the scale, the more you love the person.
Hi, Mom. I just got out of school. Can you pick me up?
I'll be there in 15 minutes. I'm gonna use a truck bomb to blow up the Brooklyn Bridge.
I'm mailing anthrax to Pierce to Morgan.
And those are just a few examples. You can make up your own. Have fun with it. But it's time for us to stand up and protect our rights. I'm gonna set off a nuke at the MTV Movie Awards.
JJMcCartney.com.
It can begin with an email, a phone call, a flyer in the mail, or perhaps a misleading website. Loan modification scams. They come in all shapes and sizes and under different names. Loan rescue firms, counseling services, mortgage consultants, sometimes posing as a legitimate mortgage company willing to help you modify your loan and get caught up with your payments. But beware, these are highly trained con artists looking to steal your home. They often know who you are, where you live, and because it's public record, know if you are on the brink of foreclosure. You're not alone, however. The National Crime Prevention Council and U.S. Department of Justice have partnered to help homeowners identify and steer clear of these scam artists.
McGruff the Crime Dog here. Protect your home and safeguard your finances. It only takes a little time to become informed. Start by finding a free legitimate housing counselor today.
Take the first step. Visit www.ncpc.org/mortgage fraud. That's ncpc.org/mortgage fraud. This message is from the National Crime Prevention Council and U.S. Department of Justice.
All right, welcome back. It's the Wednesday edition of the J.J. McCartney Show. On this 24th day of January, we've got IQ Al Rassouli with us. And folks, if you are not involved politically, if you are not engaged politically, and if you don't think that your voice really can make a difference, you are sadly mistaken. Here's something I wanted to point out. IQ, I've got 4 headlines here that should make the point quite succinctly. And then I'll share with you a little bit of each story. Beginning with the headline, Congress gets urged to scrap religious rights. Congress gets urged to scrap religious rights. Now, refresh my memory, IQ. Which amendment in the Bill of Rights was it that dealt with Congress shall make no law regarding the establishment of religion? Which amendment was that again? It was numero uno, number 1.
So who is proposing this?
LGBTQ activists. Yes, they have announced. They've announced plans to confront members of Congress demanding that they scrap some religious rights in America.
Yeah, well, they can drop dead if they want to.
Now here's the second headline. Government bans Christ in Christian celebration. After the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority refused to run Catholic ads on its buses and trains that depicted photos of shepherds And the website findtheperfectgift.org in November, the Archdiocese of Washington sued, but a federal judge who just so happened to be appointed by Barack Obama upheld the Metro's Catholic ad ban.
They should Supreme Court.
Exactly.
They should go all the way to Supreme Court.
Exactly. Now, here's the next one. A federal judge in Virginia dismissed a lawsuit yesterday brought by the nonprofit group called Liberty Counsel. It was brought against the charity information site GuideStar over its use of the Southern Poverty Law Center's designation of certain conservative organizations as hate groups. Now, people say, well, what does that have to do with Christianity? Well, it's got everything to do with Christianity. They are trying to label churches and religious organizations that, for example, are pro-life and among other things, as hate groups because they don't see things the way that we do. So that's going to go to court. I'm sure it'll be appealed to the Supreme Court. And lastly, here's what it all comes down to. James O'Keefe. We're all familiar with James O'Keefe's work with Project Veritas. He's submitted so many undercover videos on YouTube and elsewhere exposing the abortion industry, exposing all types of different malfeasance in the government and in government subsidized organizations that call themselves charities, but that have gone so far as to sell baby parts on the black market. James O'Keefe, founder of Project Veritas, was attacked by Antifa thugs. An event to celebrate President Trump's first year in office drew out members of the far-left group Antifa with a nearly fatal attack on a 56-year-old man and a serious threat to undercover journalist James O'Keefe, who said he was chased and surrounded by a violent mob. The event happened Sunday in New York City, called A Night for Freedom, was hosted by pundit Mike Cernovich. Now, O'Keefe has been very involved in the pro-life movement and has, I think, done a lot of very good work on behalf of the uninformed American public about what the government and what these organizations are really up to. And what we're seeing, IQ, is, and I know it's going on all over the world as well, is the systemic persecution endorsed by governments of Christians and Jews and, you know, these faith-based organizations. There's a real war right now going on. They're trying to stamp out Christianity in the open in the Western world.
My answer is always, if somebody is starting a fire with you, you shoot back. But you shoot back overwhelmingly. You don't do it 1 for 1. You shoot 1 bullet, you douse him with 100. The problem is the left wing, the fascists, are ready and willing to use violence. If I were the guy from Veritas, I would have always carried a gun with me.
Yes.
I would have asked and I would have demanded to have a legitimate carry weapon.
You know, and he also, I think it would be a real good idea, especially in events like this one. He needs a real security detail with him at these types of events.
You have a gun, you don't need a security detail. You take your gun and blow them away.
Well, if you've got 500 people bearing down on you, I mean, it's
500 people came down on him, it would have been pulverized.
Oh, it's a violent mob. I mean, there were obviously there were other people that were seriously injured. And the thing that bothers me about this is that in many cases, people like the mayor of New York City, what's his name, de Blasio, our good friend Audrey Russo refers to him as de blah blah blah. but you also got Jerry Brown in California. You got many people, leftists, that are in political office in hostile territory for conservatives and Christians, that will order stand-down orders when it comes to events such as the Berkeley situation that resulted in the cancellation of the speaking engagement for Mayo Yiannopoulos, and we had Ann Coulter had to cancel her event there as well because of intimidation and because of politics and political orders being given to police departments to stand down.
But there are the Minutemen, there are people on the motorcycles, the Hells Angels. They should harness these people to protect them. If these people came, let's say, to Berkeley, nobody would have dared go against Ann Coulter. Nobody.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. The idea here, and by the way, bikers get a bad rap. Traditionally they've been portrayed as some sort of societal reject, which they're not. Motorcycling in America, I mean, it's not for it's not just for these anarchists and there's been a lot of images that have been portrayed in the media over the decades that have tried to portray bikers in a negative light, but I can tell you they're some of the best people. They do things like, have you ever heard of a thing called Christmas in July?
I've heard of it. I don't know what it is.
Well, these are people that will go to hospitals where kids that are suffering from any form of illness or disease or long-term medical problems, and they will visit these kids in the hospital. They'll bring them presents in the middle of the summer, and they'll just come and visit with you. And as a parent that had a child that was hospitalized up in Alaska when she was 3 years old, 2 years old, they came and they were a great encouragement. They're good people. And I think over the years, more and more of these good people have decided to get involved politically because of what they see happening to the country. And, it is, I think it's a great idea, IQ, to somehow get the bikers of the country involved in protection for people that otherwise will have their First Amendment right to free speech trampled on by Antifa and other violent groups.
By the way, this is exactly why I mentioned them. Not because they are drug addicts.
Right.
They are protectors of the law.
Yeah, exactly right. But by the way, speaking of the law, you've heard of Charlie Daniels. He's a musician here in the United States. Very popular, southern rock, country, and he's the guy that did the song "The Devil Went Down to Georgia." Charlie Daniels. He is now expecting there to be proof of weaponized federal agencies, and I think we've already seen that. We've seen proof that Barack Obama weaponized federal agencies such as the Internal Revenue Service and others to silence the voices of people that disagreed with him politically. The fix was in. This from Bob Unruh at WorldNet Daily. Hillary Clinton was to be elected president. Federal agencies would be weaponized to advance the Obama agenda. The military neglected ultra-liberal immigration policies would be created to assure a Democratic Party government ad infinitum, and the nation's economy was to be driven further into the ground. Then something happened. Charlie Daniels says it was God's grace. That's according to Charlie Daniels. It was God's grace. It was all planned out. Hillary would be elected by a landslide. All the dirt would have been covered up. The guilty parties would go free, and the ultra-liberal immigration policies would have been instituted. A quick path to citizenship for illegals, and an unbeatable voter base created to guarantee a Democrat government ad infinitum. This according to Soapbox commentary by Charlie Daniels. And I think that there's a lot. You can find this story at worldnetdaily.com, by the way. There is a lot that the American people are unaware of. And sadly, IQ, most of the American people are blissfully unaware. They don't care enough, or they just don't want to know for whatever reason. But what they need to understand is what they are ignoring right now is the devices being used by the enemies of America to enslave the American people.
In fact, by not being willing to know, they are complicit in the destruction of America. They are helping, aiding the enemy to destroy America by not doing anything about it, by not learning anything about it. They are complicit, no question about it.
It's really, it's a product of many things, including a compromised education system, a corrupt government, and and sadly, I go back to Nikita Khrushchev saying that they would invade America without a shot being fired. And how did they do it? They did it through our schools. They did it through Hollywood. They did it through clandestine methods and means. And sadly, the American people were suckers for it.
Yeah, but you can't go on talking about the American people suckered for it. We have a new government now. There is a new direction. There is a new energy. Trump has brought out the best in America. There is absolutely no doubt about it. We can't go on harping. The American people have been abused for decades.
Yes, true.
Excuse my language, every single lousy politician speaks in the name of the American people while they are screwing the American people.
And here's the thing that here's what's so backwards about it, IQ. It's these people on the left are acting as though only Donald Trump and a few of his buddies are benefiting from the economic policies that he's put in place. And I scratch my head wondering, are these people not taxpayers? Are they not people that have invested in retirement accounts? Are they not people that have invested on the stock market at large? Are they not understanding that the prosperity that's come to America over the course of the last 12 months is a direct result of Donald Trump doing things that we know work financially for the United States? And it's like, how in the world can you look at that and see nothing but racism, discrimination, cronyism, and corruption? How?
Simple. Like the Muslims. Denial of fact and reality. What's the difficulty, for God's sake?
This is a very good...
Denial of facts and reality makes them feel good about themselves. They have been demolished. In the last 2 minutes of last year, when the votes were being counted, it only dawned on them the last half an hour that Trump is going to win.
And I want to ask, IQ, I have a challenge for the audience. I cannot offer $100,000 because I don't have $100,000. But here's my challenge for the audience. I dare anybody listening right now to call in and give me any distinctions between the Democrat political party and its leaders like Charles Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. Give me any distinctions between them and Muslims and groups like CAIR, the Council of American Islamic Relations, and groups like Hamas and Hezbollah. Give me any distinction between the Democrats and the, I'm going to use the word radical Muslim because I want to emphasize that they're all radicals. Give me one difference between the Democrats and the Muslims.
Thank you. I'm glad you didn't use the word radical and Muslims. There is no difference. And you don't need to have $100,000. Even if you challenge the $100,000, nobody can find it.
Is there anybody out there that disagrees? 855-853 5227. I'd like to hear your point of view. Make a distinction between the Democrats and the Muslims. Make a distinction between the Democrats and the terrorists.
Let me ask you a question. The Democrats, as far as I'm concerned, by having the government shut down, they literally helped their own self-destruction. Because they showed the American people, if anybody comatose would have woken up, that they cared more about 850,000 children of illegal immigrants than 330 million Americans. I don't need to put it in any other form to show how corrupt, how stupid they are. They are corrupt and they are stupid. Exactly like the Muslims, corrupt and stupid. Exactly the same. That's why they get on very well. Both of them want the destruction of America, literally. Why did Obama do everything possible to make America poor, to make her weak, to make her split, to have her people fighting each other, religiously, ethnically, color, race, to make her weak?
And they all buy into that false
idiot.
Only
the left wing are buying.
Their idea though is that the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and by doing that they're embracing the terrorists. They're embracing their terror. It really is. And you know, when you look at Islamic terrorism in the world, what is the argument the left always makes on behalf of the terrorists? They claim that terrorism is a valid form of political expression. And there's absolutely no difference between that and what Antifa is doing here in the United States.
Yeah, but most of the left-wingers, they don't use that. They tell you this, only a minority of Muslims are doing it. That's how they got away with murder. Only a minority. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to use your logic. There are 1.5 billion Muslims. It is estimated that this minority of terrorists is 10%. 10% is 150 million terrorists. Can you digest that? 150 million terrorists. There are 150 states in the world, well, 190, but let's assume it's 150. That's 1 million terrorists per state on earth. If that doesn't frighten you, I don't know what would frighten you.
And how do you defeat that many terrorists?
Simple. Not have Muslims. How? That's it. You don't have Muslims. And if you don't have Muslims, you don't have terrorism.
You send them all back. Send them all back.
Well, listen. Do Westerners go to take asylum in a Muslim country? Never. And even if they went to take asylum, the Muslims will never allow them. It's very simple. It's a one-way street. Muslims come to democracies. Nobody from democracies can go to any Muslim country. Muslims come to the West and demand their rights of religion and so on and so forth, although they have no religion, it's a cult belief system. But they give nobody rights in their own countries. And yet the left-wingers tell you, it's all right. Well, it's not all right. A one-way street is not all right. It's like an abusive relationship between a husband and wife. He beats her, he beats her, he beats her, and he beats her. That's not right.
That's right. That's right. Folks, phone lines are open right now at 855-853-5227. That's toll-free in the U.S. And if you're outside the U.S. and would like to ask a question, you can dial the country code for the U.S. and dial area code 402-858-1938. We're talking with IQ Al-Rassouli. He is the author of the book. Help me, IQ. My memory's fading on me here. But
it's a trilogy. It's 3 books.
Yes.
Lifting the Veil, The True Faces of Muhammad and Islam.
Yes. And, you know, this... And by the way, go to his website, alrassouli.com, and you will learn a lot about Islam that nobody in the mainstream media will tell you. The alternate media, we have been banging the drum here for 4 years, telling people about what's going on. And the sad reality is, if people out there don't want to acknowledge what's going on, then, as you said, IQ, they become complicit. Because if you're not diligent in defending freedom, then you become an accessory to the enemies of freedom.
Absolutely. And it's not their freedom. What about their children? What about their grandchildren?
That's right.
It's not only you and me, it's our future generations. And if we're not willing to protect our future generations, what's the purpose of our life? I want to know.
Now, I do want to I do want to encourage people to, by the way, funny comment in the chat room today. That's funny, Jen. The idea here is, we are patriots. We are all patriots. And what we believe, what we know, is not a matter that can be argued. It's not a matter of it could be this way. We know what is true. But there are people out there that don't want to know what is true because they have become far too anesthetized, believing that everything is hunky-dory and that as long as they ignore the elephant in the room or the monster in the closet, that it won't reach out one day and hurt them. And how in the world do you wake people up when they are in that state of mind, IQ?
Only when a terrorist kills one of their family or one of the Muslims rapes one of their daughters. Otherwise, I don't think you can wake them up. And,
we know of many, many stories of terrorists in America that have, I go back to San Bernardino. The government had every reason to suspect these people of being terrorists. But political correctness, the concept that they call political correctness, prevented them from really taking a hard look at the evidence and saying, we have to do something about this before somebody gets hurt.
But this is exactly what Donald Trump said before he was elected.
That's right.
He said, political correctness is destroying us and we must stop it. And he's doing that. He is politically incorrect. 100%.
I cannot overstate the degree to which I am just thrilled at what President Trump has been doing and how he has maintained a forward direction in spite of all the resistance that's being thrown at him. That is the sign of an exceptional character. When somebody can move in a direction they know is right and have the moral conviction and the courage to take on all the naysayers and do what he knows is right, what he knows is right, what he knows will work. And the American people now are seeing direct evidence that what Donald Trump is doing is working for the American people. And what a contrast between that and a guy like Barack Obama, who for 8 miserable years was working against the American people.
Well, there is no comparison. It's like comparing darkness with light. Darkness of Obama with the light of Trump. You can't. There's no comparison. He has achieved more in 1 year. Not only more, infinitely more. Why? Because under Obama, the Dow Jones wasn't going much up anywhere. Under Trump, it went 3,000 to 4,000 points in 1 year. Am I right or am I wrong?
We've seen remarkable things. The Dow Jones topped 20,000, I believe, right after Donald Trump was elected. And now, now it's above 26,000.
So what exactly? I mean, how can anybody logically and psychologically come to the conclusion it has nothing to do with Donald Trump when it has everything to do with Donald Trump?
That's right. That's right.
His energy. It's not only his energy, it's his positive aura.
It is. It's amazing. Folks, we got another hour with IQ Al Rassooli to go. Phone lines open, 855-853-5227. More with IQ Al Rassouli coming up. Hour number 2 of the JJ McCartney Show at jjmccartney.com and Red State Talk Radio. Stick around. Are these the first volleys in America's next civil war?
He's not a tough guy. He's a bully and he's a bitch.
He's a punk. He's a dog. He's a pig.
And he can suck my
He's a con, a bullshit artist, a mutt.
I'll meet him in a hotel room any day of the week and give him a Louisville Slugger.
I'd like to punch him in the face.
Kiss my mother.
Which side of the aisle is really spewing hateful rhetoric?
Pointing what appears to be a water gun at the image of President Donald Trump projected on a whiteboard, our teacher Pale Modi has now been seen by countless viewers.
Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Weekdays from noon to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, The JJ McCartney Show, exposing the truth, exposing the lies, exposing the deep state.
It's an actor dressed to look just like President Donald Trump as he's assassinated on stage.
How much longer can America survive this kind of hatred?
Video depicting comedian Kathy Griffin holding the bloody, decapitated head of President Trump are no joking matter for the Secret Service.
The rhetoric that has inspired the violence has come from the mainstream of the Democratic Party.
They're involved in the coup, an active attempt to start a bloody civil war.
I want people to imagine an FBI director that has the stones to investigate the deep state. Imagine a justice system that has the integrity to prosecute corrupt government officials. They have refused to apply the 14th Amendment and give conservatives equal protection under the law. What we've seen here has been the gradual takeover of the government by corporatism, by globalism. They have wrested control of our government away from the citizenry and put it in the hands of a few special interests. And these special interests are as evil as the day is long.
We finally do have a president who has the integrity to do this. We finally do have a DOJ who has the integrity to do this. We know that we have people around the president who not only have the integrity, but have the information and the contacts to get everything done you just said. And you say, well, why aren't they doing it? Everything you're seeing on the news, that's what it's about. That's what this investigation's about. That's what calls of impeachment are about. That's what the globalist attack against Trump is about. That's what the hearings are about. That's what the allegations of Russian spying are about. It's about keeping them off point, keeping them off the agenda, keeping them off task. A lot of what you're watching happening right now, and the misdirection and the complete trying to keep Trump off target goes to that birth certificate. The worst crime in American history was perpetrated against America under the regime of Barack Obama. The media is complicit. Congress is complicit. Federal law enforcement apparently has been complicit. We've got a CIA whistleblower, Dennis Montgomery, whose attorney, Larry Klayman, put it all over the internet the other day that he has said that all of this spying that's been going on American people, that it resulted in manipulation and collusion with judges, Supreme Court justices, congressmen, etc., that James Comey was involved in it, that he was at the top of it. All of this stuff you're seeing about Donald Trump's with the Russians, Donald Trump needs to be impeached, Donald Trump, this is a smokescreen to keep our eyes off of what really happened and what's really going on. And America had better wake up to this, JJ.
Your federal government, your federal law enforcement agencies, our federal intelligence agencies, your federal government in toto has been compromised. The fact that Donald Trump has arrived and said, I'm not going to go along with the status quo anymore, is the cause for alarm for these people on the left. And ultimately, Carl, is it possible that yesterday was simply the first shot fired in an impending civil war between two irreconcilable ideologies?
I don't want our children and grandchildren to see or to participate or to fall victim to such a thing. I don't want our nation to go through such a thing. I don't know that we could survive that. Like Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, when he said, now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any other nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. I mean, God's people, we need to pray. We need to not be afraid to speak truth.
Weekdays from noon to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. The J.J. McCartney Show. Exposing the truth. Exposing the lies. Exposing the deep state.
Live from the Nightside Radio Studios.
This is the J.J. McCartney Show.
Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Coming to you from Nebraska by way of Alaska. Here's J.J. McCartney.
Okay, thank you, and welcome back, everybody. It's the J.J. McCartney Show, hour number 2 with IQ Al Rassooli. And you know what? Before we get into the hour with IQ, I want to mention something. If you look on the YouTube video right now, you will see the official J.J. McCartney Show mug, okay? We have these mugs on sale at eBay. You go there and look up J.J. McCartney Show, you'll find the mugs. Now, here is the deal I want to make with all of you out there. You got to be quick. The next 3 people that order the J.J. McCartney Show mug, I'm going to throw in a copy of Carl Gallup's latest book, which is called Gods and Thrones. I'll throw it in absolutely free with the order of a J.J. McCartney Show mug on eBay. You go to ebay.com, place your order for the mug, and the next 3 of you that do that, I'm going to throw in a free copy of the book by Carl Gallup's Gods and Thrones. Just letting you know. You can go to jjmccartney.com, but in order to order the mugs, just go to eBay and look up J.J. McCartney Show. You'll find him there. IQ, welcome back. Great to have you with us. One of the stories, IQ, that we have here in front of us is a report, and this is from Infowars.com. I want to make sure we give proper credit when we share a story. Infowars.com, of course, Alex Jones is the host of Infowars. By the way, one of the most hated men in America, but also one of the courageous truth tellers out there. And this is the report. It says, missing FBI text messages between Peter Strzok and his girlfriend, who was also an attorney for the FBI, included threats of violence against President Trump. And the FBI has conveniently lost 5 months' worth of text messages between Peter Strzok and his girlfriend, whose name is Paige. I don't recall her first name right off the top of my head, but these text messages, a number of the 50,000 missing FBI text messages contains threats of physical violence aimed at President Trump, according to a new report at True Pundit. A website that purports to have contacts within the U.S. government claims that a high-level FBI agent called on the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to launch an investigation into the FBI and the Justice Department, specifically concentrated on the threatening messages. IQ, 5 months' worth of messages magically disappear. I mean, these people are basically guilty of the exact same thing that Hillary Clinton is guilty of, obstruction of justice.
And they are all in cahoots.
Exactly. Exactly.
Donald Trump, when he accused all of them being corrupt, and everybody was jumping down his throat saying, how dare he do that? He was telling the truth.
That's right. The FBI has a lot of dirty cops. Dirty cops is what they are. And let's face it, Robert Mueller is the dirtiest of cops right now at the Justice Department with this ridiculous investigation into the Trump allegations of colluding with Russia. When we have hard-clad evidence that implicates Robert Mueller as the mule that carried the samples of weapons-grade uranium being delivered from the Clintons, basically, to the group of Russians that ultimately wound up purchasing 20% of America's uranium supply. And this is the guy you have running an investigation about collusion with Russia?
Isn't that remarkable?
It is. It's ironic.
No, this is the beauty of it. It's in plain sight. This is why a murderer in plain sight, you don't see them.
Right.
Literally in plain sight. Obama, in plain sight, 28 times said to the American people, you can have this, and you can have this, and don't worry. And he lied 28 times and got away with it. Got away with it.
So essentially, if you're at the FBI, it's okay to make threats against the president. But don't you dare, say what you really think out loud about what the left is up to. I mean, the amount of corruption within the FBI has been, I think, has been shown in the broad light of day. The American people, by the way, IQ, there's a new poll was released today, and this from Bob Unruh again, WorldNet Daily. The Democrats claim that Russia and the Trump campaign colluded to take the 2016 presidential election away from the scandal-ridden Hillary Clinton. However, according to this new poll, voters want a special prosecutor to investigate the FBI. This is the awakening of the people. 62% of Republicans calling for an outside prosecutor to investigate the FBI. 49% of voters at large, not affiliated with either major political party, favor a special prosecutor. Among Democrats, 38%, not an insignificant amount. 38% of Democrats favor a special prosecutor. It really, to me, what this tells me is that in spite of the best efforts of the news media and the globalists, the message is getting out there, and it's because of the persistent tweeting of Donald Trump, something that I was frustrated with 6 months ago. But now I look at it, I see the effect that it's having. And, this is the world we live in today. The short attention span, the attention deficit generation, if you will. And Donald Trump has decided to speak their language and to encapsulate his thoughts in tweets, and the American people are starting to really absorb them.
Well, there would have been no other way for him if he depended on the news media. True. He would have failed first month. He would have failed.
Exactly. No doubt about that.
I agree with you. For a few times, I thought he went overboard. But in hindsight, when you take the whole picture put together, it is an amazing way of communicating with the American people. The best. A few sentences at a time. A few sentences at a time. These are type of sentences that short attention people can absorb.
Yes, absolutely right. And, I didn't see the logic in it until it started working. And, everybody was busy thinking in terms of tradition. What has traditionally worked in politics? Well, Donald Trump has bucked every single trend when it comes to American politics and the status quo. He has found a way, and I believe it's because of the traits of his personality lend themselves to him effectively communicating his points in such a manner that there is no significant way to refute what he is saying. Because if you check out what Donald Trump is saying, you're going to find that the facts support what he is saying. he's very deliberate with his tweets. And, even when it was dealing with communist China, the North Korea situation, all of it. It's everybody thought that this was just a guy that, sits up in the middle of the night tweeting. But I believe that he's been very strategic about it. I really do. Okay, IQ. I'm sorry, don't mean to interrupt, but we have another caller on the line.
Go for it.
Let us say hello to the caller. You are on with IQ Al Rassouli.
Hey, JJ, how's it going? It's your friend, Chris.
Hey, Chris in Vancouver. What's going on?
Hey, not too much. I'm doing a thing for my show. I'm doing like an award show for the best streaming radio show, and I nominated your show for the best show. Wow. I don't know what to say. Thank you. Hey, but it's an honor just to be nominated, as they like to say. Yeah, you lost to Jim Lockwood won, if you can believe it. But
considering the criteria, I'm glad I lost.
Yeah, sounds good. So I just wanted to put my 2 cents in on one thing. In regards to, I'm not sure if you're even discussing it, but the Lisa Page, the text messages between, I can't even pronounce the other guy's name. But,
Peter Strzok.
Peter Strzok.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one thing that I think that the right has kind of focused on them, their heavy bias against Donald Trump. That definitely seems to be there, but there seems to be a lot of, I don't know if it's a bias specifically against Trump or just they seem just generally to be kind of nasty people. They talked bad about Obama and Hillary, and they just seem to sort of have negative things to say about everyone. So I'm not sure that those text messages or what I've seen really show a strong bias against the president,
Yeah, and, of course, there's 5 months' worth of texts that have magically gone missing. But, in terms of the whole thing, I mean, Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, they've been carrying on an extramarital affair while they were working together at the FBI. And, if it doesn't, if you and I can't, I have not read every single text. I just don't have time for it. But the idea here that you've got people that were actively involved in the Russia collusion scandal, who were also, by the way, actively involved in the Hillary email investigation, and I understand why you could look at that and say, well, maybe they're not partisan, maybe they're not biased, maybe they were just doing their job or whatever. But when you look at the results of the investigation into Hillary's email scandal, it's almost like it got whitewashed by somebody at the FBI. Because at the last minute, there's James Comey saying, well, we're not going to indict her. We're not going to press charges against her because she was, she didn't realize that what she was doing was wrong, or words to that effect, or not understanding the gravity of it. And I don't know. To me, I mean, let's face it. Hillary Clinton was a terrible candidate. She was probably the worst candidate we've ever seen from the left. I mean, somebody with a very flawed character, somebody that nobody really trusted. And, when they look for reasons to blame it on Russian collusion and all these other things, I think that's a smokescreen. I think the bottom line was she was just an awful, awful person. And to nominate somebody like that and expect them to win simply because Donald Trump was running against her, I think we've learned the lesson that maybe the left needs to learn is that when all you do is run against someone, then it doesn't say much for you or your character. And it seems like that's all they did was continuously run against Donald Trump. And, of course, the reason they had to do that is because she was such a lousy candidate. Chris?
And also because he was so ridiculous. He was so out of left field that it was kind of, it seemed, I don't know that they knew how to deal with it, to be honest. Just before I go, I had one last question I really want to ask you. do you believe that Donald Trump is 239 pounds?
I do. Yes, I do.
Have you seen like all of those sort of damning like side by sides in the photographs of him where he seems to be clearly obese?
Yeah, I honestly I can speak from personal experience that honestly I know the guy is honestly he's 6 feet 4 inches tall, and he's got a little girth to him, but he's not morbidly obese. And
he said he's 6'4". Apparently, JJ, he's not actually 6'4". They just had to change that because that makes him not obese at the weight that he's even claiming. So that's apparently he's not actually that tall.
Let me ask you this: why would it matter?
Yeah, I guess I don't know. That is a good question. It just that's my. Why would it matter? That's a great question. Like why would he lie about something like that?
No, the other question though is this. I mean, everybody's a little defensive about their weight. I've been dealing with it all my life, and my situation is I stole the phrase from Garfield the cat. I'm not overweight. I'm under tall.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but funny. Honestly,
Anyways, okay. Well, JJ, I got to run. Sorry, I didn't. I just wanted to call and say that. But I'm listening right now, but I can't really talk. But
okay.
I'll be listening along, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Take good care. Take good care.
You too, man.
All right. Bye-bye. Okay, IQ. That's Chris from Vancouver. He's one of our semi-regular liberal callers out there.
Let's change the subject.
Okay.
North and South Korea are having a love fest.
Ah, yes, leading up to the Olympics.
Yeah, and the only reason they're having a love fest is because of Trump. No other reason.
Isn't that something?
Trump made it very clear to North Korea, to the little dictator, that, you better slow down because I'll squash you. And I'm sure he got the message. After all, Trump sent a huge number of B-2, B-1, and all you can imagine stealth bombers towards North Korea. The message was there. There's no question about it. And so far, correct me if I'm wrong, there hasn't been a threat of any missiles being shot.
It's just the specter of it that makes the point. And the little fat man, Kim Jong-un, he's been very excited about the prospect of developing ICBMs that could reach America in an hour and a half. How long do you think it takes a cruise missile to go from the Sea of Japan to North Korea?
A few minutes.
Yeah, very, very little time indeed. And what do you think they could do about it?
Nothing.
Nothing. And the thing is, I mean, just the specter of the bombers being there does not constitute a direct threat. So our friends in communist China, they understand why we're there. They understand all too well. They don't like that we're there, but they understand why we're there. And I think that they're probably okay with it because they realize that that's one way to stabilize the situation. To eliminate the ridiculous threats by simply a show of force, and the threat is implied, but it's not spoken. And people don't like to give Donald Trump credit for his strategic thinking, but this strategically is absolutely the right thing to do.
Look, irrespective of what people think, especially the leftists, who are brain dead, they really are brain dead, there's no question about it. Trump, in 1 year, achieved remarkable results against literally every odd you can possibly imagine. He defeated 16 other people in the debates. He was elected, although everybody in the news media thought his chances are 0 or 2%. The economy is unbelievably high. unemployment is one of the lowest in God knows how many decades. Unemployment of blacks and Hispanics is the lowest in 70 years. The prospect of making money for Americans is higher than any time for the last 20 years. The cutting of the taxes has been a remarkable achievement because now American companies who used to invest outside the United States of America are investing inside the United States of America to the tune of $350 billion. They will not give him any credit. But he is not there for the credit. As he said, I'm a genius. I love it. He's a genius. Why not? Of course he's a genius. How many times did I say on your show, there is not a single human being on planet Earth and no intelligent life outside the solar system who can debate me Islam and win? I'm not boasting.
Right.
I'm saying it the way it is. That's not a boast.
No.
That's a fact.
No, and honestly, folks, we got 4 years worth of shows to look back on and say, well, we've been very consistent in our message. The facts don't change just because time goes by. And as a matter of fact, IQ, the more time does go by, the more we are proven right. And it really is. I mean, it's amazing how these tired arguments come and go, but the facts remain. And we can look at anything. As a matter of fact, I saw this post on Facebook where the statement is made that 30,000 people die from knives each year. And yet, we don't see a movement out there to ban knives. The hypocrisy of people on the left when it comes to any subject can boil down to this. There's an underlying agenda that they are trying to execute while believing that the people out there are too stupid to see through their veil of deceit. And the bottom line is we, as awake and conscious and thinking intelligent people, we have to speak when we see this kind of misrepresentation, whether it's gun control, whether it's Muslim immigration, whether it's illegal immigration, whether it's building a wall, whether it's any of these things. You have to recognize when Trump spoke about building a wall, that was an instantaneous deterrent against illegal immigration. And when Trump spoke as strongly as he did about the situation in the Middle East, it had an effect. Nobody on the left, nobody in the mainstream media is going to give Donald Trump credit for how far he has moved the, what I guess we would call, he's moved normal much farther to the right than people want to give him credit for. And the American people are seeing the common sense of the Trump doctrine and the way that it's working economically, militarily, and every way you can look at it. America is a much stronger nation today than it was 12 months and a week ago.
It's not only stronger. The spirit of looking forward to this year and the next is greater. People are getting money in their pockets. This tax cut has created an avalanche. Although every pundit I listened to before the tax cut was enacted, every so-called expert, and I hate the word expert, because I know when somebody is called an expert, I know he knows nothing. They all said that even if the great companies are given the credits that they want, the tax cuts, they will never trickle it down to their people. And that this is exactly the opposite of what happened. The day they got the tax cut, every single major company said, we will pay 1,000 or 2,000 to hundreds of thousands of American workers.
And they lifted their wages
to $15.
Walmart, they announced, that their minimum wage was going up, and countless bonuses, as you said. I mean, this was an instant stimulus package that cost us nothing. It cost the taxpayers nothing. When you look at what's happening in America with the return of jobs, good paying jobs, every single job that's created is going to be new revenue collected by the government every year. Every single job. And as has been proven over and over again, John F. Kennedy did it after he took the presidency. He passed tax cuts across the board. Ronald Reagan did it in the 1980s. It worked fabulously. And the people that argue that it expands the deficit, I don't think that's true. I don't think that history proves that. The thing that expands the deficit is ridiculous entitlements. Bringing refugees here from the Islamic world that don't have the skills to get a simple job is a drain on the economy, and it's a drain on the government. But when you have people working for a living, then there is revenue, there's commerce taking place. That translates into new revenue being received by the government. And by the way, the last quarter, the government had the highest receipts that it's ever had for one quarter.
Something else. Less people are on food stamps.
Wow. That's great.
Yes, but this is a fact. Hundreds of thousands, I don't know the figures in my mind, but I know, according to the figures, less people are now on food stamps than they were under Obama.
And you know what that really translates into is people that get their dignity back. It really is. IQ, we need to take a very quick time out, and we'll come back with more in just a minute. IQ Al-Rassooli, our guest. Phone lines are open at 855-853-5227. Be right back.
The J.J. McCartney Show.
Hey, everybody. J.J. McCartney back here for our good friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com. You know, folks, there's one thing that there never seems to be a shortage of in this world, and that is uncertainty, unrest. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Natural disasters, economic downturns, whatever it is, you can be prepared by going to MountainViewOffGridLiving.com. They have got everything you need, from ProPure gravity-fed water filtration systems to Kimberly stoves to these composting toilets. Ladies and gentlemen, at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com, you can prepare for anything. Food storage, no problem. Advice, no problem. Call our good friend Sue at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com. Find out what's there for you. Great prices, great advice, and guess what, folks? You'll find it all at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com.
I felt this thrill going up my leg. I get the same thrill up my leg all over me. If you're gay, you know that America, at its most idealistic, stands for your right to love, because an American president has now declared as much.
President's embracing your children in the way that God did when he created your children.
We live in a powerful time, and as long as Barack Obama is at the helm, it will continue to be.
Commander, give us our orders and tell us where we're going. Give us the mission.
This guy's done everything right. He's raised his family right. Everything he's done is clean as a whistle. He's never not only broken any law, he's never done anything wrong. He's the perfect father, the perfect husband, the perfect American.
Darling, you got full control of your puppet.
I felt this thrill going up my leg.
What do you say to Chris Matthews?
I don't know what I'd say to him, other than maybe I'm glad he's put on a dry diaper and isn't getting that tingle down his leg anymore. But, you know, you mentioned these guys before.
Are you among the millions of Americans living with chronic pain? If so, you may think prescription opioids are the solution. The truth is, the benefits of opioids are limited. Opioids only mask the pain. Opioids also come with serious side effects, ranging from nausea to withdrawal symptoms to overdose. As many as 25% of people who are prescribed opioids struggle with addiction. And those who are addicted to opioids are 40 times more likely to move on to heroin. No one wants to live in pain, but no one should put their health at risk to be pain-free. There is another choice: physical therapy. Physical therapists treat pain through movement and exercise, no warning labels required. And you get to be an active participant in your care. Choose to treat your pain safely. Choose physical therapy. Visit moveforwardpt.com to find a physical therapist near you. This public service announcement is brought to you by the American Physical Therapy Association.
From the wind-powered Nightside Radio Studios, this is the J.J. McCartney Show.
Did you know that 63% of homes contain allergens from cockroaches? And that mice spread potent asthma triggers found in 82% of homes? It's true. Common household pests are major offenders on the list of indoor allergens. Learn what you can do to help your family breathe easier. Visit pestworld.org. A public service message from the National Pest Management Association and the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America.
Okay, we're back on the J.J. McCartney Show. Just saw a picture on Facebook that a friend of mine posted of the useful idiot of the day. It's a woman standing, obviously, on an American street at a demonstration of some sort. I'm guessing maybe the Women's March. But she's holding a sign, IQ, and the sign says, "I'm Christian and I love the Quran."
Well, there are always people who have no two brain cells of logic. She is neither a Christian, nor is she an educated human being. She can't be. It's impossible.
Well, exactly. Exactly.
You can't be a Christian and love the Quran. It's impossible.
I commented on it, and I said, cray-cray, which is the kids' way of saying crazy. And I said, what a bimbo. You love the Quran? Which part? Killing all the infidels, or raping women and children, and copulating with goats?
Yeah. Well, as I said, she's not an intelligent human being. She's there only for show. A lot of those women, they go and demonstrate. They honestly have absolutely no idea what they are talking about. 100,000 of them came out, wearing vaginas and everything else. I mean, what's the point of it? Against Trump? Why against Trump? What did Trump do? Mass rape women? I mean, what's the point? They're clueless. Honestly, they really are clueless human beings, bored out of their mind, and they have a collective and then join the collective like lemmings.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's really, I mean, you know, I wish we had some way to reach out to every one of these people and just show them pictures of what Islam does on a daily basis.
Well, you don't need to show the pictures. The pictures are available on the internet.
Well, that's...
But they're not willing to do that. You see, you're missing the point. It's not because you are going to convince them. They don't have the brains to be convinced. They're there for whatever reason, not logical. I mean, how is it that she's a Christian and she loves the Quran? How is that possible? If you ask her, have you read the Quran? 100% she tells you no. So why does she love the Quran?
Right. Exactly. And well, and she also doesn't know the Bible.
But I say she's not a Christian.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, just because somebody says I'm a Christian doesn't make him a Christian.
Well, exactly right. Exactly right. And you know, there's so much ignorance out there. And this is real. And I tell people this all the time. How can you possibly say that you believe something when you don't even know what it is you say you believe? The ultimate state of ignorance.
Yeah, but they say it anyway. They all pretend they know.
Yes.
Question. I want to ask you a question. What do you think of what Pence said in Jerusalem?
I did not hear what Pence said in Jerusalem, so I'll have to check it out.
Okay, so forget it then. Forget it, no problem. Because he was amazing. I watched his speech in Knesset, and he is 100% a believer, 100% believer.
Wow. Well, I'm reading now. He says that the U.S. Embassy will move to Jerusalem by the end of next year.
Yeah, but do you know how?
How?
Very simple. They have a consulate in Jerusalem. And the consulate is going to be converted into the embassy. That's how fast. I'm telling you, Donald Trump is a genius. The consulate is there. All you have to do, make it into a embassy. That's all there is to it. That's all he's going to do. Change the name, embassy.
Wow. I love the way that he said, and I'm just looking at some of the comments. I love the way that he said that it is an honor to be in Israel's capital, Jerusalem.
Exactly. I'm telling you, the guy is amazing, amazing. So even if they got rid of Trump in any way, shape, or form, Pence will take over.
Yeah. And, I've been very impressed by his, he has been one of the most active and engaged vice presidents, I think, in American history. And I think that that's the perfect complement to Donald Trump, who's, a relative newcomer to the political process. And Mike Pence was the perfect fit for this administration.
And he's very loyal. He really is very, very loyal. I mean, I watch him. I listen to him. He's very loyal to Trump. Very loyal.
Right.
There's a big difference. Not subservient. Not like Joe Biden, piece of garbage. This guy is an intelligent man. He's his own man. I don't know if you remember this or it's true or not. Before he became vice president, and they were, he was going to be one of them. He said he never meets with a woman without another woman being there, and they laughed at him at the time. Did you know that?
I do recall that. Yes, that for the sake of appearance, you don't do that.
But he was right.
Exactly.
He was absolutely 100% correct. Otherwise, there would have been now 20, 30 women saying,
exactly right.
You molested. Yeah.
Well, it really goes. I mean, it's biblical principles at work. Just the sign of impropriety or the hint of impropriety is enough to sully your reputation, and it can cause other people to go astray as well. I mean, you don't put yourself in that position, and that is the absolute safe thing to do. And as I wish that the American people could have seen. I mean, I'm talking about the younger generations. I wish they could have seen the world I grew up in, because especially living in the South. In the 1970s, there was, especially, and we were church-going Christians. We were absolutely, every time the doors opened, we were there. And the values that were promoted and expected from people were so much more based on biblical principle than anything else. And if somebody stepped out of line, I mean, it wasn't why we stood in judgment of them, but if they stepped out of line, they heard about it. And what we see today in America has been an absolute... America has turned its back on the principles that made America the nation that was so blessed by God. And what we've seen here is I think, a restoration in America because of Donald Trump and because of the people that voted for him, because it is almost like we have two different Americas going on at the same time. You've got the America that is steeped in narcissism and instant gratification. And then you've got the America that's always looking forward and saying, how do we set our children and our younger generations up so that they can maintain this lifestyle and live in a nation that is blessed by God and a nation that is still that beacon to the rest of the world, IQ.
You're right. You are divided. The United States of America literally is divided almost 51-49. Almost 51-49. Which is a tragedy. Because the 49% who are against Trump are clueless. They really are clueless. They only hate him for the sake of hating him. And there is absolutely no rational reason to hate him. Not a single rational reason to hate him. He is a proud Christian, and he's got children and grandchildren who are Jews. And they call him a racist.
Right.
They're racist.
Well, it's obvious he's not. I mean, he's got a big,
we're not discussing the obvious.
His business dealings. And there are people out there that will try and make a mountain out of a molehill. Donald Trump, his only crime in the eyes of the people was the fact that he was a businessman that wanted to make as much money as he could. That's not a bad thing in the world of business. But they would make the claim that, well, he bought this building and then he kicked all the poor black people out. Unless there's a law against somebody taking a property and renovating it and making it more luxurious and more expensive than it would have been before, if there's a law against that, nobody's found it yet. And the idea that a profit motive is somehow evil, I think it goes against the idea that anybody in America is free to pursue whatever is best for them. But when Donald Trump did it, and by the way, he employs more women in his organization and more people of all colors and creeds in his organization. And there has never yet been, to my knowledge, a single lawsuit, a single complaint registered by people of color claiming that there was discrimination against them by him. I mean, you look at his business record, and in spite of the naysayers in the media, there's not a whole lot there to criticize.
That's why they are scraping the bottom of the barrel to find something.
Right.
They can't. There is nothing. And you know what? The more they try to dig in, the more they prove he is cleaner than white.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's amazing though. People can, they'll say things, slanderous things about Donald Trump based on no evidence whatsoever. And they'll say, well, you can just tell he's a racist.
Oh, yeah?
Is that kind of like looking at a black man and you can just tell that he likes fried chicken?
So what? I love fried chicken. So what?
Yeah, but I'm talking about the stereotypes.
I know. I mean, so I love fried chicken. So what?
Yeah,
I love.
But you're not a black man, are you?
I am a black man.
Really?
With a white skin.
Ah. Okay, I'll buy that. But the thing is, I mean, for so long, we were all taught, well, you don't want to judge people by their appearance. But boy, I tell you what, when you see the dregs of humanity marching in this stupid march over the weekend, and are we supposed to not judge people by their appearances when they're dressed with vaginas on their heads and the most vile and hateful signs? How are we supposed to reserve judgment when people are basically walking around admitting what they are?
But you don't reserve judgment. That's the whole point. I call a spade a spade. That's it. End of conversation. They don't like it, they can lump it. Just like they call us, people who don't conform to their point of view, as racist. We're not racist. Every human being is racist. I have never known of a human being who is not a racist. It's impossible. It's a biological imperative that humans are racist. And what is the word racist, by the way? Racism now covers if you are anti-religion of the other person, the color of the other person, the nationality of the other person, the political point of view of the other person, the gender of the other person, or the religion of the other person. Any of these is called racism. And every human being has one of them against somebody. We're tribal. It's a biological imperative that we are who we are. So when somebody says you're a racist, I say, yes, I'm proud of it too.
And if they claim that they're not a racist, then that just means that they're a lying racist.
They're lying through their rotten teeth. They're hypocrites. Not only a liar, they're hypocrites. Because everybody is a racist, everybody. No matter how you slice it, somebody hates something about somebody else. That's racism. And the worst racist of all are the ones who pretend they are not, are Muslims.
And, you know, there's everybody was brought up in an environment where somebody, you know, has taught them the preconceived notions that they are supposed to have about somebody that looks a certain way. You know, just like the caller from Vancouver, Chris, asking me, do you believe Donald Trump says he only weighs 239 pounds? You know, first of all, like I asked him, why does that matter? And the second question was that goes along with that is basically just a so what? What do you have a propensity to criticize people that are overweight? Isn't that a form of bigotry as well?
Of course it is, but as you said to him, and you pointed out, he's 6'4". For God's sake, he's a giant.
Well,
6'4" is a giant.
Well, you know, I can attest to the fact that when you are that tall, it's very easy to gain weight. It really is.
But he's 75 years old or 70 plus years old, isn't he?
I believe he just turned 71, 72 maybe.
Wow. So biologically also, when you grow old, you put on weight. I remember when I used to see movies of Frank Sinatra. He was needle thin, needle.
Yes, he was.
When he died, he was really overweight.
Well, you know, the years of living the lifestyle, and just the fact that, you know what, your body at some point in time is going to pick a weight that you're going to basically be around for the rest of your life. And, you know, a lot of it is lifestyle related. But
not this. But JJ, you should know, the muscles of the body, no matter how much you exercise, when you're 65, 70, 75, they relax. All the exercise in the world will not be able to help you.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people that try to defy the laws of nature. One of them that's been very, very good at it is Chuck Norris. I mean, obviously he uses dye in his hair. I think he wears a toupee, but he takes good care of his body. And, you know, you can do things like that to extend years onto your life and to you know, and some people are, let's face it, IQ, some people are genetically better off than others when it comes to their body. And it's a matter, a lot of it is a matter of genetics.
You're absolutely right. I know families, honestly, each one of the family lives at least 90 to 100 years.
Right. Right.
Each one of them, 90 to 100 years.
And, you know, it comes down to, at the end of the day, and, you know, Anwar Sadat said this. He said, "I will not die one moment before God intends for me to die."
Yes, because he's a believer. He's a Muslim believer. And there's a Muslim... Sorry, go on.
But his words meant something. And what they meant was, I'm not going to live my life in fear of an assassin's bullet or anything else. I am going to, I'm going to live my life on my own terms, and I'm not going to worry about things I can't control. In many ways, he was a respectable man. And
no question about he was respectable, and you're absolutely right. The idea is that he will live his life come what may.
Yes, yes. Ultimately, he was assassinated, but he left a legacy that not many people can leave in this world for the things that he was able to accomplish. The agreement between he and Menachem Begin that gave some lasting peace between Egypt and Israel. And when you think about how that only took a few short years after the 1973 war, that they were able to hammer out the agreement they did was, I think it was because of the will of God that Egypt and Israel became relatable to one another in a time when Israel has never enjoyed a period of total peace because everybody around them wants to kill them and wants to take what they have. I think that it was really a remarkable thing, and
it was the same as what he did. Exactly what Trump did. He went against all odds. He was man enough to go into the jaws of the enemy. He went to Jerusalem. He went to the Knesset. And he gave them a speech in Arabic. And he had a standing ovation. He broke the ice. This is why he was so remarkable. Of course, I remember, because I was reading the Arabic news, they were worried when their plane landed in Tel Aviv, in Ben Gurion. They were worried that the Israelis will kill him. Do you understand the mentality? His entourage were worried that it was really a way to kill him, thinking the Israelis will behave like them, Arabs.
Wow. Isn't it amazing, though, the distinctions that it's understandable for Muslims to suspect others of doing what they would do. But Israel has never been gratuitous when it comes to making threats against leaders of other nations. They've always done a fairly amazing job of being diplomats. And when Sadat got there, my guess is that the Israeli people, it must have looked a lot like heaven once he saw what it was really like.
JJ, they loved him.
Yes.
Because, you see, it's got to be, it's so difficult to understand. It's the same as Donald Trump. Donald Trump saying Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. Pure logic. Everybody went against him. Sadat told the leader of Syria, al-Bashar, the father of the current one.
Yes.
He told him, I will get you to Golan. Just tell me to go ahead. I'll get you to Golan also. Not only would he get the Sinai Desert, but he'll get him to Golan.
And you know what? In spite of what many people wanted to say about Hafez Assad, that was an extraordinary period of peace. It really was.
Yes.
And it was all because two men sat down together and realized that they weren't looking at the devil himself when they were looking across the table.
Absolutely.
And, the whole world could learn from that. They really could. Well, IQ, I can't believe we burned 2 hours again. It goes by so fast. And I know that, by the way, the first thing I'm going to do once we get off the air here today, I'm going to watch the entire speech from Mike Pence in Jerusalem.
You really should, because the eloquence was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Well, I tell you what, he is the perfect guy to have sitting in the wings. And, the right man for the right time. We've got Donald Trump as the president. He's the right man at the right time. And Mike Pence is an exceptional compliment to Donald Trump, no doubt. IQ, I thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure. See you next week.
Next year.
What's that? Okay. All right. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here today. Thanks to all of you for listening. Thanks to our callers today. And be sure and join us again tomorrow. Michael Cutler will be my guest on the Thursday edition. And until then, be good to yourselves. And if you possibly can, be good to someone else. And remember, we'll win in the end because there are more of us than there are of them. Because God is with us. And because we are all in this thing together. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. See you on Thursday. God bless. Bye-bye.